Right then, guys, welcome back to Once You're In, You're In. This is episode 5, and we're going to chat about restarting prep, go through a few questions as well, and probably just chat some shit in between. So, yeah, how are you getting on, mate? You struggling yet?
Yeah, struggling, mate. Fasted cardio. It's 2:30 currently. Haven't it so
Pushing your
far.
meals back.
Yeah, pushing all meals back. Intermittent fasting already. Cleanse gone in instantly. 20,000 steps every 6 hours. It's brutal, mate. Really, really struggling. And I'm going keto as well from next week onwards. And I honestly, I don't know how I'm going to do it, mate. I just don't. I don't even want to live anymore. But I mean, we'll carry on. We'll carry on. But no, all in all seriousness, though, it's been lovely not to eat. If I'm honest, I always enjoy the first few days. You're a bit hungry because you're not used to the lower food. Like I've been waking up, and I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit hungry today. But then after that, I feel sound. It got to the point where like I come around to meal times, and I was like, oh, great, I got to eat again. So it's been nice not doing that. It's also been nice going for a walk. My average steps over the last 6 months have been about 4,000. So it's actually nice to go outside and see some outdoor areas. I forgot what a field looked like to this point. So that's the new one. And other than that, like pretty self-explanatory. I've only had one training session. Such a hard training session.
It was a nightmare, wasn't it? Lost 2 reps on everything.
Everything was 4 reps down. Prep hit me already. I said to you, I felt quite battered during it, but I think it was probably just the session. It was our 3rd rotation now, so almost, I'm not going to say working at high levels of intensity, but when you've had 2 rotations on something, you kind of know where you're going to be at. So you almost kind of, I'm not going to say you push harder, but you've learnt the movement to a better degree. So therefore, you're not trying to get the line right on absolutely everything. So yeah, first session in the books yesterday. Ultraflex Rotherham, rest day today, rest day on Sunday. And it was weird. My body weight was up from yesterday, which I was expecting because higher food volume, higher calories in general, and then a bit of inflammation from like a leg pull session, which is always going to be quite demanding. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what I'm at over the next few days. As mentioned to you, mate, I dropped 1 kilo overnight first day, so don't really need to diet anymore for this week. Just put it on the back burner.
What was your weight this morning?
109.3. So that's like
0.2. Something like that.
Yeah, no. What did you say, sorry?
That's up from the day before.
Yeah, so I was 109 flat yesterday.
Mate, you're obviously doing something wrong. You've obviously pushed back into a surplus. You need to diet further. You need to create more of a deficit.
I know. I was actually thinking about on training days doing 20,000 steps instead of 18,000, and I was like, oh no. Yeah. You know,
Why come you didn't message me? Why didn't you message me first thing, mate? Mate, I've weighed in heavier. What should I do?
Mate, I can't believe it. I'm in a deficit. I'm not even really in it. On a training day, I'm not in a deficit. So it's like, oh mate, I'm not in a deficit, and my weight went up. What should I do? You know?
No, mate, I can't tell you.
No, you wouldn't know. But no, other than that, all good. Like I said, it's nice to have a little bit less food. I think, if I'm honest, like I had a few clients mention it to me, like over the last few days, like, oh, best of luck, like hopefully it goes well, and it's nice. But I feel like I'm not going to say with how busy I am, but with how like routine I am, I'll probably get to like 10 weeks out and be like, oh, this ain't that bad.
Is it that with your current workload, mate?
No, my current workload is going to be quite good soon. I finish my uni dissertation will be done within the next week. It'll be submitted. So that'll be nice. That'll be really good. Maybe I can do what you do on Sundays, which is just watch football all day and do absolutely nothing. So that'll be what I'll do on. That's what my Sunday plan will be. I'll no check-ins. I'll just move everything around. But no, I said finish uni, that'll be good. And then, like I said, I think I'll just probably cruise all the way through it. Like I'll get to like 10 weeks, I'll be like, oh shit, it's 10 weeks out. And then I'll probably feel like death, but we'll see.
I don't think you will. You're not the type of person to be, not like struggling, like, yeah, you will struggle as you get leaner, but you're not the type of person to moan about it or do it. You know how you're going to feel. You've dieted before. Like it's going to be the same. It might be a little bit harder towards the end, but it's still not that hard. Like you sort of your goal and the drive to do it is going to outweigh, oh, I'm a bit hungry or I feel a bit tired. Like
I never feel, I don't even think when I've been like absolutely peeled before, I've never been like, I'm so hungry. No, it's more
because you're always on decent food though as well.
Yeah.
You'll be dieting maximum, like the lowest you'll go to will be like what, probably 2,500 calories, lowest like a bit under that. So even, like, you can't, and if you're managing nutrient timing and food volume, like, you won't be hungry really.
No.
Like, I know, like, people say, oh, if you're that lean, you're always going to be hungry. Like, and I think you are, but you don't realize it. Like, when I was in prep, like, I never once really thought, oh, I'm starving, because my next meal was always like 2.5 to 3 hours later. So I always knew there was another meal coming.
Yeah.
I don't think I felt hungry. I felt like I was dragging my feet from times, and if I had a bad session, I'd be pissed off, and it'd get to me more emotionally because I had zero test. But
no
like,
test, just
zero.
That's it.
But like, other than that, like, I don't think I was hungry because I was on decent food and because I was managing it. Like, it's not. I think if you're shit with nutrient timing, I've not eaten for 7 hours, like, even if you're in a gaining phase, you're going to be struggling.
And even now, I think as well, if you have like a psychological connection to food in a negative demeanor, like, for example, I really like bagels, but like, if a bagel has to go, a bagel will go. It's not where I'll be like fighting to be like, I'm keeping my bagels in.
Mate, you'll still be having Frosties right at the end.
No, but we'll see. So it's I think it'll be all right. Like you said, the only things I've ever really, when I've dieted before, felt is just like that want to do things just diminishes. Like, you just forget, like, you just don't really have that, like, get up and go. Like, if I said to you right now, like, it's a pretty horrendous analogy, but like, if Shannon came in and she was like, do you want to go for a walk to here? And you'd be like, yeah, sound, we'll go. But if you're dieting and you've done your steps, you're like, no chance.
No, it's that, and like, we've had this conversation loads of times, but the amount of times when you're dieting and you'll think something in your head that's funny, or you want to say it, but you're that low on energy that you just don't have the energy to say it. Like, you just can't be asked to say it. Like, something will happen and you'll be like, you'll have a funny thought in your head, but usually now you'd blurt it out. But when you're dieting, you're just like, too much effort to try and even say that or explain it. Or I think, like, when I was on prep, Shannon had come home, and like, now we will chat about more about her work or whatever it may be, and like, I'm happy to chat about it. And before, I was like, just talk at me and I'll listen and I'm sound, like, and I'll listen to it, and I'm happy to listen, and just like, let me eat my food and I'll listen, but I had no input because I was just that tired to give really much input. But you don't even think it at the time. You just think, oh, I'm a bit tired, but just talk at me and it's sound. But you're obviously being quite ignorant without really realizing.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm surprised if I'm eating. Even now, I struggle. This is like an eating habit that I built up, like, through many years of dieting. I don't like anybody talking to me. I don't want somebody touching me. I don't want anybody near me. Like, especially like post workout. When you get in, you're battered.
Hey, you love eating your Frosties next to me.
Mate, you're the one who's like, oh, Reece, can we have post workout together?
Fuck off, when have I ever said that?
A few times, mate. A few times. We're in the garage and you look over, you're like, hey, mate, I got my Frosties. Can we eat them together?
Mate, I used to deliberately go and sit in the car to get away from you.
Was that what it was?
Yeah. 4 hours with you. I was like, I need to go and sit in the car.
I thought it was like social distancing or whatever. You still gave me COVID. So
the sound can train together for 4 hours, but you can't eat next to each other. You'll get COVID.
It wouldn't surprise me if that's actually a rule.
That is probably a rule, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't. But
well, it actually is,
that's one thing I picked up, like the little eating, and it's not a disorder, but it is tendencies and behaviours that you pick up when you diet a lot of times. And it's like, I still have that. I'm better now, but like, I've been really rude to people in the past. Like, if there's like somebody, like, if I let's say I was you and Shannon was talking to me, I was eating, I'd be like, leave me alone.
Yeah, to be fair, there was times like that. I told you about that time when I told her to go away, didn't I? Like, I was like, go and sit over there.
She was showing you TikToks and you were just
it wasn't that.
Wasn't it TikToks?
No, mate. I had salmon. I had a salmon meal. So my rest day final meal when I was in prep was salmon and potato. And the potato was like cut up into small chunks and put in the air fryer. So it was like a big bowl of salmon and potato and veg. And it was banging. I loved it. And Shannon made yogurt and blueberry, Perform Whey, the blueberry whey in that yogurt. And she sat right next to me, and all I could smell was blueberry, and it stunk like proper strong. And I was trying to eat my salmon, and all I could smell was that. And I was like, please, can you go away? And she was like, what? I was like, I can't deal with you being sat there eating that. She was like, well, can't you go over there? I was like, no, like, I'm eating. I'm sat here, you go over there. So I made her come and sit here on the table, and I was sat over there on the sofa. And she still brings that up.
It's a zero test. You just don't want any females near you.
I know.
You know,
Just wanted
confirm
males.
dieting.
I was like, can you just
Dieting
go and
makes
get
you asexual.
another man? Go and get a boy to come in here with me. I don't
Yeah.
want you anymore. That's what it
I
was.
can't satisfy the roles that you want me to be. I can't do it. I'm not got it in my locker anymore. You know, my dick hasn't worked in 12 weeks, Shannon. Stop sitting near me.
To be fair, it wasn't that bad. But I've realised, I told you, didn't I? Like, I didn't think that hormonally I was in that bad of a position.
You always. I was saying to you throughout the entirety of it, I was like, hormonally, you'll be compromised. You don't realise.
It wasn't that bad though. It wasn't horrendous, but it was
No.
like looking back now, it was definitely a lot worse than I thought it was at the time. At the time, I was like, oh, I'm just tired. Like I have no want to do anything. Like I'm just tired.
Yeah.
When really it was like I literally just have no ability to.
Yeah.
Like, but I thought the ability was probably because I was tired, but it probably wasn't. It was a bit of both.
I think it would be a bit of both.
Yeah, definitely.
It's more so, and I wouldn't even say hormonally. It's more so your body's thinking, I don't want to die. I'm in a state of starvation. I'm in starvation mode, bro.
Starvation mode's kicked in.
Yeah, starvation mode already in. It's not thinking about reproducing. That's pretty much
exactly
what it is. You
Yeah.
know, so
Well,
hormonally,
at the time, you think it's just because you're tired. When it's not really. It's because you're on that low food and you're that lean that your body's not going to be prioritizing that.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it'll be interesting. See, this is the reason I'm just gonna stay single throughout the entirety of the prep. You know, no girls or anything. Just myself. That'll be fine. Imagine.
Are you going to delve into what you've changed? Because obviously we spoke about it yesterday, but I think it's quite insightful, like what you've changed at the start of prep. I know it's only 2 days in, and we spoke about this on like the first podcast, like what you were going to do.
Mate, it's 3 days in. You do look as a coach. You don't even know. You don't even know. Mate,
how
I
many
sent you
days
3 lots
out.
of check-in
Wow.
photos. I sent you 3 lots of check-in photos.
Checking in every morning.
Yeah, you replied, mate. So many changes already. Insane changes.
Still fat. Only response. Still fat. Still fat. You were saying yesterday that you're shredded. Mate, I'm so vascular.
I did. Mate, I looked really vascular. I was surprised. I was like, I hadn't seen, like, I always have veins on my shoulders, but I had a few on my chest, and I was like, this is like, I only really see these when I'm like sub 100 kilos.
You know what
so
it was from?
What?
You know what it was from?
What?
It's from curling those 76 dumbbells up.
Mate, that was a PR in itself. That was a PR.
I saw the video.
I picked up some 76 kilo. I picked not even some, one 76 kilo dumbbell for Cuba. Clearly, the 37 quid day pass, he thought, I'm going to get more out of this kid now. And he was like, can you throw some dumbbells up for me? And I don't think that's the most nervous I've ever been.
The funny thing is, like, I was happy to do it. Like, obviously, when you got me over for someone, I was like, yeah, sound. Imagine someone else in the gym, like, if it was someone in a random gym, like warehouse, some big lad was like, "Oh mate, can you chuck me 76?" I'd be like, "No, like, no. I'm not compromising my session." But because it was Cuba, like, and because he was sound, he was nice asking. I was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, usually I'd be a bit like, "Oh," but like because of who it is and because it's his gym and it's like you don't want to imagine. No, he'd be like, "You are."
Don't want to.
Don't want to. I'm not passing you those weights. No, you can't pick them up yourself, mate. They're obviously too heavy, so you should obviously go a bit lighter.
Yeah,
that's what I should have said.
Yeah, have you ever thought about that? And you go, "Oh fuck, didn't even think about that."
Oh shit, yeah, cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. I'm gonna do the 50s now. But no, so yeah, 3 days in, a few little tweaks and changes. I should mention my food was insanely high. Not insanely, but it was high. It was really high. It was I had 900 carb on training days. And then it was 900 carb training days, 57 fat, and then 270 protein. And then on my non-training days, it was like 655 carb. I think I'd have to double check. Protein was at a similar rate. And then fats were about 82, 83. So I made a big drop to both. Not drastic. I pulled carbohydrates down into the 400s. It was 420 on non-training days. Fats came down by, I think it was 7. So it was like 75-ish grams. And then protein stayed the same. Protein stayed consistent on both. I made sure to keep that in like a 260, 270 zone. And then on training days, carbs came from 900 plus down to, I think it was 625. I'm going to have a look at just a few meal timings and like optimization of meals, because yesterday it was almost a sense where like I pulled a bit from my cream of rice, which is meal 2, which is like my pre. And I was having like a decent amount of carbs in like my post, which I don't mind, but I would prefer it to be a little bit more spread out evenly. So I'll be making a few alterations to that, but the macros will stay relatively the same. Fats on training days currently, I think it was 53, if I'm not mistaken. So I probably butchered that. I reckon I definitely could have mentioned that, like carbs, fat, protein on training days, and then so on and so forth. But either way, yeah. Yeah, I thought I'd go through like the rationale. So yeah, quite a decent drop calorie wise. Like I think it was like 3.3 on non-training days, and training days was like the high 3,000s or the low 4,000s. I don't really pay too much attention, but it was a significant margin of calories reduced. Steps have been pumped up, so 10k steps consistently on training days, non-training days. A bit of what I was thinking. I was tempted to do 8,000 on training days, but I almost just thought, well, they're going to be 10,000 eventually. I have so much when it comes to tools at my disposal for cardio, for further steps and non-training days, for food. So I thought we'll just get away with 10,000. Food's still very high, so it's not where I'm like, right, I need to be pulling away from food instantly. So I thought just get myself in a decent spot where there's a novel level of expenditure, so something that I haven't really had for the last 9 months, 10 months really, since my last little tidy up phase. And then food's also been at a lot, like a lower amount. So if I can be getting into like the 106s, 105s within the next, I'd like to say, couple of weeks, I'll be probably on the money with what I'd want. I want to be like, by the end of this week, I'd like to be under like, it was 109.3. I want to be under like 107.5, if I'm honest, which is quite a significant drop. But I like to be more aggressive at the start, and then it almost tilts off towards the end when fat levels and body fat actually gets to a state where I'm like, right, I don't need to be pulling off a kilo a week or whatever. So there's no expected rate of loss, should we say. There's not where I'm like, right, I need this, I need that. If I need to push harder, like I've dieted and done rapid fat loss phases for 8 weeks and got peeled from quite a poor position composition wise. So yeah, that'll be the plan of action. Finn's currently eating his cream of rice. Anything that's missed out there, mate, or do you reckon that's all good?
So exactly how many calories, or not exactly how many calories, but how many calories have you dropped? Is it about just over 1,000 on both days?
Yeah, just about. I'd have to double check. So as mentioned, it was 300 or it was 290 carb pulled from training days. It was 5 fat as well pulled, and then protein stayed the same. So if you're working that out, it's a bit more.
1,000.
Yeah, it'd be about what, 1250 around there, 1245, 1250. So yeah, but decent drop on training days, which, to be fair, like if you're really trying to prioritize it, you probably wouldn't make an initial, that's a big drop if you think about it. But at the same time, no, it's not, because it's still a lot of
food. Like that's not that big. It is a big drop, but it's exactly where it needs to be. Like if you were on 3,000 calories, you wouldn't be dropping 1,000, you'd be dropping 300. Right, but because you push food that high, like you were saying, mate, this first few weeks, it's just going to be basically losing a bit of food volume. Like that's the weight that's going to go, and a bit of glycogen stored. Like that's literally it. And then once you start probably getting into the 105s and below, you'll start being like, right, I need to probably make a few changes and actually start peeling the fat off.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I'm not really expecting the physical look to look any different really up until, to be fair, I'd say 105 would probably be quite generous, if I'm honest. I don't think I'll see much till probably maybe 101, 102. So that's quite crazy to think that's like 20 pounds that I'll pull off. And I'm expecting to look, I will look different. I'm not expecting to be like, I look exactly the same. But
mate, you'll peel 20 pounds off and look drastically different.
Yeah, I just need to take one photo out in the sunlight and then one photo indoors in that like poor lighting, look exactly the same, and be like, oh my god, I look drastically different here. 20 pounds pulled off. You know, it's almost as bad as the 3 years on muscle gain looking exactly the same. Ridiculous. But I mean, what can you say? But yeah, so it'll be, like I said, probably, if I was to happen to guess on what I'll compete at, I'd really like to say low 90s, but I don't think it will be. I think it'll be high 80s, if I'm honest. I think in that like 89 to 91 would be my estimation, because I don't think I have 20 plus kilos of fat to lose, if I'm honest. But I hold my muscle quite well to the point where, like, if I train in a tank top, I don't look that fat, but I have a decent amount of fat on me. Mate, have you seen your face? Your face is fatter than my face, and I'm 40 pounds up from you.
My face is fat, but then I show you my checking photos, and you're like, you're peeled.
I haven't said that for about 2 months. I was like, you look good for your body weight, considering I've seen you at 190.
Every time you go, it's fucking crazy.
No, I didn't say it's fucking crazy.
Yes, you do.
No. I think I said to you, I was like, oh mate, it's impressive that you can still pull those shots off. You know, because at the end of the day, you're like 6 or 7 months
really.
post show. No, you're 6 or 7 months post show. I don't actually know the exact amount, but it's a decent amount of months.
What was it? October, November, December, 6 months.
6 months. 6 or 7 months. 7 months in 5 days.
No, 7 months next month. Like toward end of next month.
Yeah. And
not that it really matters.
No, it doesn't really. But to be fair, most people would have gone through that at first show, initial bounce, get back up to like probably body weight they were at when they started prep, and then they're pretty screwed for a decent gaining phase or whatever, and they have to 10 days mini cut already. That's what it will be. Need to mini cut. 2 months in, mini cut needed, tidy up needed.
I've actually done that 4 times. I've just not posted about it.
Really? That's why your progress has been horrendous, and you look the exact same. It's the natty curse, mate. That's what it is. You're not committed to any phase.
Just don't want it enough.
Yeah, I'm the same, to be fair. But no, so yeah, exciting times ahead, shall we say? I think it's 21 and 22 and a half weeks, which is fun. And that's pretty much everything. Like, what we'll do is we'll keep you updated. Like we'll just do when do like a little intro bit at the start. I'll probably just talk about how the last week has gone, but it's early doors. Training's always is going to be spot on. There's no major changes. Glenn and Yahimbine and T3 haven't gone in yet.
Going in next week, straight away.
Yeah, they go in next week actually.
And vasoburn.
Yeah, vasoburn, and then you got to get one of those waist trainer belts to tie it in.
Cling film as well.
Cling film, yeah. And one of those shell suits to do cardio. So I'm really just losing water weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mate, you're going to be peeled. You're going to be peeled too soon.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But no, how's your training been, mate? Update on yourself, all good? We're what now, 3rd week back in the gyms? Or it is the 3rd week rotation, but we've had our 2nd rotation now.
We've got a bit of a groove now, haven't we?
Yes.
First week was good, but the Saturday session was poor. Last week was good, but the Wednesday session just beat me up a little bit. And that's the only session now where, like I was saying yesterday, I need to have a think about that, because the hammer strength flat press, like, it's just ruining my shoulders. Like, as much as it's like getting good and I'm quite strong at it, and I do like the movement, and I like having it as the first press, and it's really hard to get it short. And I do get a decent amount out of my chest from it. I just feel like after it, like my joints are just trashed. So it's kind of weighing up, is it worth it to try and do like 5 plates on that and think, oh yeah, it looks good, but if it's just ruining my shoulders, then it's not worth it. It's like trying to do a barbell back squat, and like it's not going to agree with me. I'm just trying to do something impressive on it when it's not that impressive if it's just ruining you. So yeah, need to have a think about that. But yeah, yesterday was a good session. Added the hinge back in, not hinged since like early January, I believe. So it's been like coming up to 4 months since I last hinged, and my back actually feels all right today, mate. It doesn't feel that bad. I can tell, because obviously I just did the 1 set and I probably left 1 rep, didn't I? Or I left like a 50-50 rep.
Yeah.
And it's the tightest they've looked probably for an RDL for me, and it's the best they've been. Like load wise, it's a PB, even though it's still not good. I've got to try and be realistic and think, like, if I can get away with doing 1, then that's a win. Even if it's not an impressive load, even if it's not, anything that is sort of crazy I don't want to be like doing a movement that's going to take away from the rest of my training. So I'd rather do 1 set of 180 or working that up than try and do like a heavy set at 200 on something when I'm just not there to do it. Like my back's just not gonna be able to do it. The knot in my back, like I can feel it today, but it's still not horrendous. I could feel, like I said, after the set, I could feel my scapula on my left side, the side that where it wings, I could feel it like coming out. So I just got to be careful with it. But I really enjoyed it, having it back in. And like I said, it's the best they've been by a mile. So that's a big win to say I've not done them for however long. I think when I last
win for the week.
My big win for the week is the RDL. When I last did the RDL, though, do you remember it was in prep and it was like 160,
Yeah.
And it was just
Zero test again, mate. That's why.
breaking me down, wasn't it? Like, so I felt so much more comfortable with it. I know that obviously part of that is body weight, but also I think a lot of it is the fact that my back is in a much better position after just resting it from a hinge for a while. I think as well, like I said to you, the fact like psychologically that I've pressed like 140 or 140.
And I've pressed your RDL.
I think, yeah, for 2. But the fact that I've actually like got stronger on other movements makes me think that that's less. You know what I mean? Before, like when I was unracking 160, let's say in prep, I'd be thinking, oh, like this is heavy when it's not. Like now, like even 180, I'm thinking that's shit. Like, so it's that mindset, that sort of psychological shift of thinking it's heavy versus it's light. That helps. But yeah, I've just got to be careful with it. But other than that, sort of the rest of last week was really good. The Saturday session is in Evo now in Leicester, won it, and that was loads better. Like that gym, like the atmosphere. Kit's decent. It's not amazing, but it's good in it. It's a lot better than when we trained at Ultimate Fitness.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was happy with last week's training. Like I say, it's just Wednesday, so it's just literally tomorrow. I need to have a think about what I'm going to do. I do think I want to probably look at adding a dumbbell pressing. I'll see how my back feels after I'm going to see Aaron after this, so I'll see how my back feels tonight, tomorrow, whether or not, because I think a lot of the reason that my shoulders hurt is my tight thoracic, so my tight sort of mid and upper back. Often the reason people have like shoulder impingements and shoulder issues is because of a tight thoracic from being like hunched over in like an office job. Obviously, we kind of have an office job now, which is weird, but like I focus on keeping my posture like good and keeping my shoulders back, but I've always had sort of slightly rolled forward shoulders, and I need to work on improving it. And obviously yesterday, I think that helped. I did a bit of mobility before we trained. I did a bit of like foam rolling on my thoracic spine, and then I did just some hip mobility work before we started the session. And I think that helped with the RDL. So I'll keep on top of that. Just working around little niggles, because I do really want to keep the RDL in. I don't want to do what I've done in the past where I'll have it in for a week and it just batters me and my back's fucked for months and I can't do a hinge for ages.
Yeah, but there's a level to it, because you'll get to the point where it's not there one week and you'll end up going for it and ruining yourself. So it's almost like
I think
balance.
I'm in a position now where I'm more experienced to it, and I'm a bit more switched on to knowing if it doesn't feel like it's there, like it's just not worth doing it. Because like yesterday, like just unracking it, like I could tell, it's sound. Like obviously sometimes I've said with you, like my back, sometimes when it's properly bad, like even 60 kilos, I can't unrack it without it just feeling like it's sending like a shock down my spine, down my left side. So I know when it's there, and if it's not, then I'll just see how, like I could substitute it for a bent row, or I could keep it as I couldn't do that. I'd probably do like a glute drive or a hyperextension. I'd do that instead. That'd be sound. But I was thinking as well, because obviously I did the RDL yesterday and I've got the bent row tomorrow. So I was thinking about that and how that's going to work. But again, I'm just going to assess how I feel. If my back doesn't feel good, I'll just do a chest supported row.
Yeah, no. The chest supported row there is not great though.
I won't do the T-bar. I'll do the hammer strength low row, because I like that.
Yeah. No, makes sense.
Or potentially even like a chest supported dumbbell, maybe. I quite like that.
Yeah.
But I think I'll be sound to do a bent row. And I do want to keep the bent row. I want to keep it in because it's been progressing well. And I think that cross-transference of that is helping with the RDL as well.
At the same time, mate, 2 sets where you're in a decent degree of hip flexion per week, like most people can recover from that. You know, like,
it's just that I've not had the RDL in with it. So it's just managing both.
But it's not like you put both back in. Like it's not like one's gone in, like and both have come back in. So I think if your back feels okay today, I think you should be fine.
I think I'll be sound.
Yeah, and then you can make reassessments. Like my bent row has been taken out now, and I've put the hinge back in. So me and Finn pretty much decided, we're just going to hinge now randomly, and we both happen to be fine. So yeah, hopefully we can both keep them in. We can progress them. Like I was 50 kilos down, and you hit PR. So that's something.
I was 20 kilos up. You were 50 kilos down.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
Still heavier than mine.
I know, like it's silly. Like, mate, imagine I just went in like 270 first rotation.
Fuck it. Just
shit. Yeah, but no. So, yeah, I'm glad that we've seemed to. I said to you on the way back yesterday, we seem to have like a decent swing of things now, where we're like, right, this is what gym we're training this time. This is what gym we're going to be doing.
It just took a couple of weeks, didn't it? Like we had that when we were in the shed because we knew we were in there for however long. Like we got it nailed pretty quick, didn't we? Or maybe it probably took the same time, a couple of weeks. Right, same again. Just
I'd probably say it's less
settled.
because we don't have fantastic exercise
Yeah, you
selection.
don't
It's
have
like,
many
right, what's our
options.
press? We choose 2 presses.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, right, what's our pulls? And we choose like the 2 to 3 pulls. So yeah. All in all, happy to be back in the gyms. I like it when there's always like you see the runway for potential for overload. It's always nice. It's a bit of variance, but no. Are we going to go through a few questions prior to wrapping this up?
Can do, mate. I've got 15 minutes and then I'll have to get off. So did you get some good ones?
I got some decent ones, to be fair. Do you want to start off, or do you want me to start off?
You can go, mate.
Okay, so we have a fair few. I'll have a read through. Okay, so one of my clients, Evan, he's asked a few questions, to be fair. He's asked 3. And I always find this interesting because, like, I always say to people, like, when it's my client, like, you can just drop me a message. Like, he's a clever lad. Like, he knows a lot. And it's almost just a sense of him of just kind of saying, right, this is how to put things into practice. But he knows a lot more than what, like, an average kind of client would know, if that makes sense. Like, not, but it's almost just the basics with Evan. But he's asked, how to establish baseline volume for a client? Will it be based on recoverability? Recoverability?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then THX. Thanks. So thanks, Evan, for the question. Do you want to start off with this one, mate?
Yeah, can do. So generally, I will assess how, like, someone, if they've got training data previously, then that's great. That's helpful. If they've got any previous training footage as well, that's very helpful. But often I will look at the physique and I can, without sounding rude, you can kind of determine from someone's physique how hard they train and how strong they are. And a lot of the time that will dictate their volume, as well as the fact, how frequently are they training, because that will dictate their volume. If they can train twice per week, then their volume in those 2 sessions is going to be greater than if they can train 5 or 6 times per week. So there's a few things like that I would look at first. And I think a lot of that comes down to sort of just experience and time with different clients. But I would say, for the most part, I will try and start off a client on relatively lower volume and see how they're getting on. And if they feel like they can get more out of a session, which often I'll say, how did the session feel? How did you feel afterwards? Do you feel like you could have, got more out of this movement or this muscle in that session? For example, let's say a push session, if I will say, how do you feel like you could have got more out of your chest in this session? And I'll kind of go off that a lot of the time, but more often than not, I'm going from their progress, whether they're progressing well. If they are, then generally volume's in a good spot. And if they're saying recovery feels, that they're recovering well and ready to go in and attack the next session. If they're not progressing well, then we can look at why that is. It's not always because of volume. It's often because of not nailing every other variable, or because they are, probably not training accurately enough. So they're maybe not able to accurately progress. But if it is a case of someone who's nailing everything and their form is bang on and then they're struggling to progress, then I would probably look at, we can look at the volume. We could also look at food, if they're in a diet phase. So yeah, there's a few things to consider, but more often than not, I would just say assess the individual and start off at a lower volume and see if you can work up from there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think starting on like a baseline for the vast majority, it gives you a better kind of assessment measure to see if they're actually properly recovering, and at the same time gauging their training intensity. So like if you have someone who signs up, they have 7 followers, a private account, and you're like, oh, I don't know how this guy's going to train. Usually, as you mentioned, look at the physique, go from there. And then often, not all the time, but I've had it plenty of times where like you'll give someone 2 sets and you just know they're not going to be taking the first 2 sets to anywhere near what 2 sets is needed. So you might go to 3 sets and then an intensifier, or you go 2 sets and an intensifier if it's like an ISO at the end of the session. But to like not make it too personal to Evan, the reason why he probably is asking is it was similar with him where like we started on like 2 sets and I kind of just said to him, like, it's all well and good. Like I said to you at the start, he's a clever lad, but it's almost just the basics of him and just nailing, right, well, if we can't get out from 2 sets what we need, we'll do 3 sets. And I think we almost have like a bit of a hybrid. Most like the main movements with him is 2 sets, but on the things that I know, right, we could get away with a little bit more because I know potentially his application isn't fantastic on certain things. It's almost where we're like, right, we'll get away with 2 sets and intensifier, or 1 set and like a double rest pause, or 3 sets and so on and so forth. So yeah, hit the nail on the head. Do you have any questions?
As well, I think, like volume and a set for like one person is completely different to a set for another person, and likewise, a set of one exercise is completely different to another. So sometimes I'll have clients who will be like, "Oh, mate, that's like, let's say that's 16 sets in a session," and it sounds like loads, but with how I know they train, it's
not
2 sets on compounds, 3 sets on isolations. Like, it's really not that much. Like, if you were to do 8 exercises and do 2 sets on each, that's 16. Like, if you do 6 exercises with a few of them with 3 sets and a few with 2, that's 16. Like, it's not a huge amount. So I think a lot of people think like, oh, I should be doing 8 sets in a session, but they're nowhere near strong enough or accurate enough to get away with that. Like you were saying, like the amount of clients that I have on 3 sets, like over time, I'm sure they will get to the point where we can be like, right, let's just change this to a top set and back off. But right now, they're still every set is 2 or 3 reps shy of failure because they're still working to get to that sort of level of intensity that they need to be at. They're moving minimal loads, so doing an extra set isn't going to be accumulating loads of central fatigue, so you can get away with more. So it's like any question. It's very independent on the person, but it's quite easy to work out soon enough what someone needs. And if they're doing too much, you'll know straight away because they'll feel horrendous and their training won't be progressing. And if they're not doing enough, like you'll probably know because they'll feel like they'll probably say to you, "Oh, I feel like I could get more out of this session." Like, when do we leave a session thinking, "Mate, that was easy"? Only when we do a devolume do we think, "I actually feel okay."
Yeah,
like,
my mind works
even we're
after
battered.
a session.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. Yeah, that's literally my gauge. If I finish a session and mentally I feel like I'm still awake and alive, I'm like, right, I probably could have done more, and that would be after a devolume. But no, I do find it funny. Like, I've got a few clients, so I'll have like an upper session. I'll be like, "Mate, this is so much volume," and I'm like, "But it's not." Like, it's when you actually break it down. And I feel like, mate, if we've looked at what we've done for like chest sessions when we first started training, I remember once I had like 30 sets in a session. Like, it was silly, but it was because my intensity was nowhere near
you can get away with it.
So it's like 4 sets of everything.
I remember I used to do loads of stuff. Like, I'd do probably like 5 sets on flat bench, and I'd superset every set with press ups and stuff like that. And it sounds ridiculous right now, but at the time, because I was moving such small loads, and because, like you said, I was nowhere near accurate enough, none of those flat bench sets were anywhere near failure. I can get away with it, and that's why you'd still get some sort of growth because you were absolutely battering yourself. Now, if we were to do that, it'd be stupid because we'd end up just burying ourselves in a hole that we're not going to get out of and missing sessions for weeks or whatever. But
missing sessions, don't want to train.
For most people, like they like you say, they want to be. It's almost like running before you can walk. They want to be top set, back off, or just one set. It's like, you're not there yet. Like, even I'm not there yet on a lot of things. You're not there yet on a lot of things. Like for me especially, like I know I'm doing one set on a hinge at the minute, so it sounds contradictory. But if my back was sound, there's no chance I'd be doing one set on a hinge. I'm not strong enough at it. I'd be doing like 3 or 4 because I want to improve at it because I'm not. It's one of my weaknesses. If I could get away with that and my back was sound, I would love to do more, but I can't. But I think some people think I'm doing that because it's not like, oh, I do one set because that's all I need. No, like I ideally need a lot more, but my back won't handle it right now.
Yeah.
Right, should I do one?
Yes, go for it.
I'll do a quick one. You gonna stay natty, Finn?
Oh,
this is from.
I'll ask you. You gonna stay natty, Finn? There we go.
This is from Jimbo. Jimbo Training. I'm gonna go on his profile. James.
Is he natty? Is he trying to sell you stuff? If so, how much?
I think he's natty. Sorry if you're not, mate. I'm gonna assume you definitely are. Oh, it says it in his bio, natural bodybuilder.
Oh, so he's definitely natural.
He's natural, yeah. I mean, if your bio says natural bodybuilder, you're 100% natural.
I wonder if he's got a master's and he's got a PhD as well, like us.
No, he's not. He needs to put it in his bio. He needs to put that in his bio.
Natural master's PhD bodybuilder. Doctor.
Dr. Finn Kelly _coach. Yeah, appreciate the question, mate. I'm actually not natty right now. Unfortunately, I thought people had realised by now with the crazy progress I've made. Obviously not.
No.
So yeah, that's the answer, mate. I'm actually already enhanced.
Okay. Under what? What are you on currently then, mate? What's your stack?
I'm on Vasoburn.
Vasoburn.
Yeah. And what else would I be on? D-ball.
Debo.
That's my stack. Vasoburn plus Debo.
Vasoburn, Debo. So you get the fluid retention from the Debo, and then at the same time,
Trying to
you
burn
just
it
get
off
all
with
the
the
fluid
Vasoburn.
loss.
Works so well, mate. It's like
mate, that's a fantastic stack.
Antagonistic. It's perfect. No, in all seriousness, mate, yes, I will stay natty. I have no real interest in going enhanced. I think it's cool, and I would like to be able to coach people in the future that are enhanced, and I'd like to be able to sort of have more involvement in it, because that is the higher end of bodybuilding, which is a fact. But for me, like, I'm not that deluded where I think that I could be a top level enhanced bodybuilder. I think I could be okay, but I think I can do better as a bodybuilder naturally. And my goals are more so within, I would say, within coaching enhanced people. If I, let's say I know this is like very ambitious. Imagine in 20 years, yeah, I'm 44, 43, 44 next month. If I was to be like coaching people like high level, like at the Olympia and stuff, that'd be mint. I couldn't give a fuck what I look like. I couldn't care if I've done it as an athlete. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's like saying, oh, I want to manage Man United, but I don't want to play football. Like, it's not going to, you kind of have to have had some background. But I think in terms of experience you can gain naturally, as long as you're well educated enough in the enhanced side of things, you don't have to have taken drugs to know what you kind of need to do. It's good to have that experience of it, but I don't think you'd need to. I think I could definitely be able to coach people enhanced in the future. So that's kind of why, not the reason why I wouldn't want to go enhanced myself, but I just don't have the interest in doing it myself, because I don't think I have the ability to be good enough to go enhanced. I don't think the risk to reward is really there. Like, I wouldn't find it worth it, because I'd just be okay as an enhanced bodybuilder. I'd rather be pretty good as a natural bodybuilder.
What about if you hit your natural bodybuilding goals? And let's say, for example, you weigh up the pros and cons of like TRT. And if I'm honest, it makes, from a physiology background, it makes sense to most males after like 26 to 30. It would make sense to take the step. So would that interest you when you're like, well, I'm probably going to get a better quality of life. I'm not really losing out on anything. And you could probably do it in a safe manner. Would that
Yeah, you could definitely do it safely. But then I also think not doing it, you can be very safe as well. And I think I would end up being one of them where if I was to start seeing like really good progress from it, I'd be like, oh, fuck it, and end up taking loads and just be
okay, give me more D-bol and Vasoburn.
Like, I don't think I'd want to just take a little bit and be like, oh, I'll just do it because, oh, well, I'm, 30 odd now and my natural testosterone isn't what it used to be. And I'll just, have a little bit. So it's like my normal testosterone levels when I was whatever age. Like, I'd kind of be a bit like, well, if I'm going to do that, I might as well just fucking go for it. But then I'll be probably too old and I'll be past it anyway. So yeah, I'd rather just live in the moment and just be a natty and try and be a decent natty.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What about you, mate?
Natty.
Are you gonna stay natty, Reece?
No. No, sorry. It's not really in my repertoire, unfortunately, with my goals set. But if I'm honest, it's not really based off my goals. It's more pros and cons and looking at it and thinking objectively. Like, it's pretty apparent if you, I'm not going to try and preach. If I was 33 and I trained 2 times a week, I probably would be like, okay, sign me up to take TRT. It makes no relevant sense to accept a poor life quality or a lesser life quality. So if that's the next step, I'd be thinking, well, I'm not going to be an idiot. Am I going to be on the Olympia stage? No, but I definitely think it's the next step for my training and then for my physique. So to me, I'd say potentially. And you never know. We might do a podcast in 6 years and my hairline's fucked. I've got acne everywhere and I'm like, bro, I shouldn't have done it, man.
Should have done it, guys.
Yeah, guys, look, if you can listen to me, don't do it. And then otherwise, and Finn might just look exactly the same in 6 years, but I'll be bigger. So, pros and cons, swings and roundabouts.
But to be fair, that is one thing as well. Like, have you ever heard anyone who is on gear saying they're glad they've done it?
Yeah, oh yeah, there's definitely a level to it. But
I don't think I think anyone you speak to will say it's a fucking ball ache, jabbing all the time, and I kind of wish I'd never done it, which is sad.
Yeah,
but it's like anything. Like, I do get that. Like, you could say that about anything. Like, there's loads of things that you would do that you get into a lifestyle and then you kind of wish you'd not done it. But also, it's not like you're not getting a good reward from that, especially if you're competing at a high level.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. Right. One more, or do you reckon we could run through 2 quick ones?
Maybe 1 or 2 more. We'll do Jack's. You know, Jack Pardon Jack.
Jack, Pardon Jack. Yeah, Pardon Jack.
We spoke about his name before, haven't we? Like,
yeah, Jack. You got to tell us.
I think it's Jack Pardon Yak. I think you don't pronounce the J in the second name.
I thought it was like Jack Pardon. That was his name.
You thought it was Jack Pardon and then Jack, as if someone had said pardon and he'd repeated his name.
Yeah, like Jack Pardon.
Which would be funny if it is that.
No. I didn't think Pardon Jack was his surname. I thought his surname was Pardon.
I know.
It was Jack.
So his name is Jack _ Pardon Jack. So it's like if he'd gone Jack and someone gone Pardon and he'd gone Jack. Yeah.
That's what you think.
No, that's what you said to me.
Oh, yeah.
And I said that would be good. That would be comedy gold if he's done that. But I think his name is just Jack Pardon Yak. And I don't think you pronounce the J. And if I'm right, I'm proud of myself.
Coaching slots available.
Anyway, so he asked, when it comes to arm training, do you focus on progressing numbers or internal feel? And I like this question because I get this question a lot. And clients ask me a lot about this. So I'll let you go. Is it
because you've got fantastic arms? Or?
It's because I've got massive arms, mate. Mate, you wouldn't take a photo of me the other day when I was doing that because I look that big.
Every single viewer's clicked off, and everyone's on Spotify or whatever has just gone, nah, fuck this. I can't.
He's an animal. He's an animal. I can't watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I can't watch. Too big. That's what it is.
Oh, mate, he's too natty. You offended my eyes. That's what they're going to say. I think it's a mixture, if I'm honest. I think I don't want to say the classic, if you train them and treat them like accessories, then they'll look like accessories. But in a sense, you want to be getting stronger. I would view it and think if you can take potentially like a leaning single arm hammer curl, and you can take that from a 20 kilo for a set of 10 to a 30 kilo or 32 kilo for a set of 10, your biceps are most likely going to grow. But at the same time, if you were just to view it from a loading standpoint, you'd be saying, well, a bent over row where you're exposing your biceps, obviously it's not a direct isolation, but you're going to be exposing your biceps to 100 plus kilos. And if you're doing a tricep compound, you're going to be exposing your triceps to like 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 plus kilos on that. When in reality, for like a single arm tricep extension, you might be doing 18 kilos, 20 kilos. So I feel like there's almost like you kind of want to get the best of both worlds. You should be connecting well. If you're doing a movement and you're not feeling it in the targeting muscle, especially for something like arms, I would say you probably do need to address that. But then at the same time, you still want to progress in a linear fashion and move numbers up accordingly. So it's almost like finding a good balance between them is what I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would treat it very similar to how I would treat a side delt movement or a fly movement or even like potentially like leg extensions, hamstring curls. Like they're very easy to get sloppy and start to chuck the weight a bit and you don't feel it quite as much. And I think when that is the case, it's a good idea to reset that movement. But then that does also go with your compounds. You know, if you're all of a sudden starting to do like a horrendous, let's say, hack squat where you're going a third of the way down just to try and beat your numbers, like, would you accept that just because it's a compound and it's not an isolation? Like, no, you would still be like, right, this has gotten to shit. I need to reset it. So I think you should have that mindset on every movement, whether it's for arms, whether it's for, chest, back, whatever it is. I still think you should always have in the back of your mind, like, accuracy and intensity, not one or the other. And when you are progressing, it should be progressing with both of those. I think arms is one where you notice it slip a little bit more than others because usually that you are using smaller loads. So you're greedy when it comes to progression. Like if you think about it, if you're doing like let's say like a 16 kilo, let's say dumbbell curl, 16 kilo, like high incline dumbbell curl, whatever it may be, or preach curl or whatever.
High incline dumbbell curl.
Yeah, well, mate, like lying back on a bench. That's what we do. Curl. High incline dumbbell curl.
Yeah.
What would you call it? Incline dumbbell curl. When we lay back on a bench.
Seated curl.
Yeah, but we're laying back. It's not fully seated.
Yeah, but anyway, carry on. Yeah, I know what you mean. Doing 16
if you were to go up from 16 to 18, like it's quite a big percentage. Whereas like if you were to add 2 kilos onto a leg press, like it's nothing. So you almost become greedy with your arm progression. I think you notice that form slips quicker. And you start to think, why am I not progressing? Why are my arms not progressing as fast as other body parts? It's because they're a lot smaller and they're not going to be able to manage as much load, and you can't. Obviously, you can swing the weight around, but it's very noticeable. Like
Yes.
on a leg press, if you go a little bit shallower, it's not that noticeable. Like you won't notice if you're going an inch closer to your chest or further away. On a hack, the same. On a bicep curl, if you can't curl the weight up and you can't contract it, or you're using your calves or your hips to move the weight, you really notice it more than other things. So I think it's not that you need to treat it any differently. I think you just need to be aware that you will notice more so when it goes a bit sloppy, and just to be aware that, you know, if it feels like shit and you're not getting any kind of connection on it on any movement, then it's probably not one you should be doing, or you should reset it, whether it's arms or whether it's anything really.
Yeah. Agreed. Do you want me to go now? I got
if you've got
Jacob.
a fast one, because I've got to go.
Yeah. Jacob.18. What do you think is better? Add 2.5 kg and max reps, or add a rep, or just add a rep. That I should have said that. So he had it even as an example: 100 for 7 or 102.5 for 6.
102.5 for 6.
Agreed. Yeah.
Although
load progression. Yeah. Focusing on actually. Yeah.
The total
it
load
does make sense.
The total load is less. The total volume, so the total like volume across the set is less, and that is something that we have got to consider. We know we have got to consider total volume. We know that volume is a driver for hypertrophy, but it is not generally going to be the primary driver. You want to focus on mechanical load or actually increasing your strength. So I would say whenever, like we were saying this the other day, whenever there's a load progression, take it. Even if it means that you lose a few reps. Like if you feel strong on a given day, take the load progression. Like sometimes we'll go into a set, like even your 180, for example, you shouldn't have done 180, but you felt good, you felt strong on that day and you went for it. Like, yeah, you only got 2, but at least now you go back down to like 175 and you're like, oh, it feels a lot easier than it did if I'd have never touched it before. Yeah. So yeah, I would always go for a load progression.
Yeah, spot on.
Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree. I always think like there's a certain time to go for reps. I think home training, if you're limited with kit, reps, spot on, work up in rep ranges. But there's many times where like when do we ever try and work up a rep range? And like if it's let's say we have a 5 to 9 in our head, if we've controlled a load and we think that's ours, and we get a 6. If the next week you feel good, why wouldn't you want to go for a load progression?
Yeah, we're not like, oh, but I need to run it up to 9.
Yeah, I need to work up to 9.
Like, let's just go 2.5 up or whatever.
The people that do that, and that sounds a bit harsh. It's not me being critical, because there will be people that do it in the little mint. But in general, the people that stay on the same load for 6 weeks to work up from a 5 to a 9, or 5 weeks, 4 weeks, they're the ones that within 3 months they look at their progress and they've gone from 100 kilos to 105 kilos.
Yeah, it's one of them. Like it's a steady. It's like micro loading, in it. You know, it's a very steady form of progression. Yes, your form will likely stay very, very standardized and exactly the same. But like you were saying, you know, a lot of the time you'll probably go from, you know, in the space of a month, you'll progress what you should have done in maybe a week. Like you could have just added 5 kilos on, and you'd have probably been sound managing it. So yeah, I think you should consider volume, but always try and take a load progression. And I would say as well, the more advanced you get in training, the more sort of careful you need to be with those load progressions. You can't just get away with chucking 10 kilos aside on an RDL. Whereas when you're new to training and your intensity is not there yet, you know, the amount of times that we'll say to clients, put 20 kilos on top, put 20 kilos on, put another 5 on a side next week. And within the space of a month, they've added 60 kilos to a lift. For us, if we were to do that, like it would be stupid, and we just wouldn't, there's no chance you could do it. So the more advanced you get, be more sort of tentative with the progression.
And I'd also say if it's a new movement, like if we've put a brand new movement in, you can usually get away with like 5 kilos per side, and then it'll go to 2.5, and then it'll go to 1.25, and then it's like every other week it'll be a 1.25. So but at the same time, when you start training, you can do that for a long, long time. Yeah. Like, you know, we can always work stuff up. But no, by the fidgeting of Finn, he's going to be late to his physio.
I'll go.
So that is another episode 5 of the Once You're In podcast. I now have to get through about 7 of these on my story because we didn't get through them all. But
sorry,
hey, we appreciate the questions.
I'll save the ones we didn't get to for next time.
Okay, yeah, we appreciate the questions as always, and we're probably going to be a few episodes away from getting our first guest on the podcast, I'd say. So we probably got a few more of just chatting and doing a few questions, and then we'll get a guest on for maybe like 20 or 30 minutes where we can just interrogate them and say if they really want it or not. And we've got a few people in mind, but if there's anybody that wants to highlight themselves, or anyone that you're like, oh, we need to get these on, let us know. But other than that, that is episode 5, and I'll leave you with Finn. So is there anything you want to finish on, mate, or is that everything?
No, mate, that's good. I appreciate everybody watching and listening. Share on your stories for the people that are doing that. Thank you. And we'll catch you all in the next one.
Bye.